In this tutorial, we're going to secure our WordPress site using the Hide My WP Ghost plugin by Squirrely. And we're going to go through securing a site from A to Z using this plugin in this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I try to answer them the best I can. My name is Bjorn Allpass from WP Learning Lab. We will help you get better at WordPress so you can earn more for yourself, for your customers, and for your business. If you haven't done so yet, click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's get started. Hide My WP Ghost by Squirrely is currently on AppSumo for a lifetime deal. You can check out the deal using the link down below. The single is probably more than enough for most people. I always lean towards the unlimited with the white label because, maybe one day I'll make some kind of service or agency or do this for clients as well, but I never actually do that. Anyway, the single is probably more than enough. So if the AppSumo deal is still live while you're watching this video, get the lifetime deal because that's the best value. If the lifetime deal is not available anymore by the time you watch this video, this is their website. You can get it here as well. On the pricing page, you can see what the pricing is. And this is yearly. To get the 10 site license is $299 per year, or it's $59 lifetime over on AppSumo. So it's a huge cost savings and value. And I also saw this link right here. Want a lifetime deal? Contact us. So it looks like they're willing to play ball on lifetime deals even after the AppSumo deal is done, but likely the price would be way, way higher. There's also a free version of the plugin. You can see a feature list right down here. We're going to go through a lot of these features in this video, and it compares the free to the pro. If you want the free plugin, you can just download it here or get it from the WordPress repository. If you end up purchasing the plugin, head over into the account, which looks something like this, or it might look like this. They're both the same place. Click on Orders and Licenses, click on Download Plugin. Once it's downloaded, we can then upload it to our website. Let's quickly go through the feature list so you can see what this plugin does. And this is predicated on the idea that most hackers get into your website through some form of brute force. And often it's hacker bots that are pre-programmed with the default locations for WordPress things. If you've used WordPress for a while, you know that if you go to yourdomainname.com/wp-admin or /wp-login.php, it takes you to the login page. But if you move that, then the hacker is going to have trouble finding your login page. Similarly, a folder that exists on pretty much every WordPress site is yourdomainname.com/wp-admin, which is the admin area, or /wp-includes, or /wp-content. All these things are default. These are not changed by 99.9% of the WordPress sites that are out there. And so these bots are programmed, and hackers know to look for these default paths so that they can more easily find vulnerabilities on your site. What this plugin allows you to do is hide those. Make custom paths for all of those. So then these hacker bots and hackers, they won't be able to find those specific locations on your site, and they'll move on to the next one because there's always low-hanging fruit. So that's basically what this top portion does here. Let's go right down to here. Changes paths and URLs for all these very common areas that are common among all WordPress sites. It will also hide HTML comments. You also have an option inside of WordPress not allow HTML in the comments as well. And HTML can be used to inject code into your site sometimes if there are specific vulnerabilities present on your site, usually introduced by plugins that are out of date. You can hide WP versions and versions of the plugins. With the Pro version, you can hide the author ID. You can hide plugin names and theme names. You can have custom theme style names, custom API paths, disable REST API access. This is more developer type stuff. It's also for the Pro version. So that's over your head. Don't worry about it. It just does good things for hiding stuff from hackers. Hide WordPress common paths and common files, firewall against script injection, disable directory browsing, all important things. I have separate videos for most of this on the channel doing this stuff manually, but this plugin does pretty much all those things as a plugin and just being point and click and no code, which is super easy. You can have custom login redirects and logout redirects. You can hide the admin for logged in users. You can disable XML RPC access. This is a common vector for brute force attacks. You can disable embedded scripts. You can disable debug on the front end. There's an option, say wp-config file, where you can turn debug on so you can troubleshoot errors. This will make it so it doesn't show up on the front end. There's also a spelling mistake right there, but I've made plenty of spelling mistakes, so I can't judge. You can prevent brute force with the Google reCAPTCHA. You can whitelist and blacklist IPs. You can back up and restore using this plugin. There's cache and speed optimization, URL mapping, CDN URL support, and premium support in the Pro version. So this plugin does a whole heck of a lot. So the site we're going to use this on is wp-speedify.com. And before we install the plugin, let's just run the theme detector over here. You can use this one or whatever other one you like to use. And let's see what it finds. And then we'll see if hide my WP Ghost can hide these things from the theme detector. So found our theme, WP Astra. And it found 3 plugins. There are more plugins installed on this site, but I only found 3 for whatever reason. Contact Form 7, Elementor Free, Elementor Pro. Found out that's hosted on SiteGround. And that's the end. This is their blog information down here. So we'll keep this open and we'll run this again later and see how much of this will be hidden. And we're also going to visit the front end of this website and view the page source. And we'll keep this open for later as well. In here we can see all the URLs that the plugin says it can hide. For example, this one right here, wp-content/plugins/Elementor. This can be changed apparently using this plugin. So if it changes this, then it's changed the default path of a very common WordPress folder. And so a bot or a hacker would have a harder time getting into your site. And in here, there's also a tag in the head section called generator right here, which is a meta tag that lists that we're using WordPress and that's version 5.8.1. It also shows in here WooCommerce 5.6.0. This is valuable information. If a hacker or a hacker bot comes in here, they scan your site and they see you're using 5.7, and 5.7 is going to have security vulnerabilities that are published and publicly accessible, because whenever there's a WordPress update or any plugin update, the security vulnerabilities that were patched are detailed in the release notes. And so if they can detect an older version of something, they know which security vulnerabilities likely exist on your site, then they're going to try attacking those. So it's important to hide this kind of information. And so we'll see if this disappears, and we're going to compare our source code before and after the plugin is installed. So let's install the plugin. Let's go into the dashboard, go to plugins and add new, go to upload plugin. Let's drag and drop that into place right there. Click on install now. If you can't do that fancy trick, which embarrassingly I only learned recently, you can click on choose file and you can find the file on your hard drive and open it that way. Click on install now when you're ready. If you're installing this on a live site, you might want to back up your site first, just in case something goes wrong. It's rare these days, but in case something does go wrong, you want to have a backup. There's a tutorial in the description down below to help you back up your site if you need help with that. Click on activate plugin once it's installed. And now we have our plugin installed. And there's a new menu item over here, hide my WP. It's going to require a license code, which is in our account over here. Let's copy and paste that. It's here, and where we download the plugin under orders licenses, it's right over here as well. Paste that right in there and click on activate. Now it's going to run a full security check on the site. And then once that's done, that was done pretty quick. So it shows here our site security is weak. Some of the main hacking doors are still available. So let's see if we can fix those things. In the last 30 days, we have some stats here, currently 0 because we just installed it. Brute force IPs blocked, email alerts sent, those will be sent to you, notifying you of problems. And down here, we have an urgent list of things to do. It wants us to change our login URL, wants us to switch on brute force protection, wants us to hide common WordPress files, wants us to disable XML RPC access. You may or may not want to do that one, because if you use the mobile app for WordPress, the one on your phone or your tablet, or if you publish via email, which is very uncommon, but if you do publish via email, you'll know if you do that or not. That requires XML RPC to work. So if you disable that, the mobile app and publishing via email are not going to work. It wants us to hide the RSD endpoint, wants us to hide our author ID, and we'll go ahead and do those things in a minute. But first, I want to run a full security check. So I want a full list of all the things that are wrong. That was pretty quick. 27 passed, 12 failed. And here they are reiterating we made a good decision. 30,000 websites are hacked every day. Over 30% of them are made in WordPress. Another spelling mistake, just saying. I make them all the time. I'm not judging. I'm just saying I found one. So here we have a green check mark for all the stuff we passed. We have outdated plugins. like I always say, maybe not always, but I do say regularly, keep your plugins up to date. That's the number one way hackers get into sites is security vulnerabilities and outdated plugins and themes. So plugins outdated, theme outdated. And here it wants us to move our login path, wants us to make our config file not writable, wants us to hide common WordPress files, hide common WordPress files again, disable file allow edit, disable XML RPC, disable RSD, we knew that already. It doesn't like that our MySQL database has all permissions granted. It just wants the subset that WordPress needs. We can click here to fix that one. And it wants the author ID to be hidden as well. And if you're finding this tutorial helpful, click the like button because that helps this video show up for more people on YouTube so we can spread the knowledge and help more people with this information. So make sure you click like if you like this video. And you might be thinking, how do I do all this? Like, that's nice that they want us to update plugins. That one's pretty easy. We'll do that one in just a minute. Update themes is pretty easy, but how do I make a custom URL or turn on brute force? Or how do I chmod our wp-config file? Luckily, you can click on info and it will tell you how to do it, or you can watch this video and I'll show you how as well. And you can also, for a lot of these, click on fix on the right-hand side. And before we can click on fix it, we have to turn on safe mode or ghost mode. To get to the settings where you turn those on, open the change paths page as control clicked or command click to open a new tab. And here we have levels of security, currently deactivated. We can go to safe mode. What that's going to do is change all of these things. It's going to change our login path from this to this. Going to change our core contents path from this to this. And so each of these is going to be changed from what is the default, the one that hackers and scanners know off by heart, and it's going to change it to something else. And it's important to note that these are not physically changed on your server as they point out right here. This is changed in your htaccess file. So when your server loads your website, instead of looking for this file, it's going to be looking for this location because it knows that, because you tell it that in the htaccess file. And the htaccess file is a hidden file that's not publicly visible, unless of course your server is somehow vulnerable. Let's assume it's not. It's not publicly visible, so a hacker can't get in there and see what the new location is. They could possibly guess the new location, but they can't actually see what it is. And you might be saying to yourself, and rightly so, if this plugin is purchasable by anybody, which it is, there's even a lifetime deal right now, and all we do is have the plugin choose these for us and click on continue, then the hacker knows what the new ones are. And you're totally right. That's why you can have custom ones as well. So before we get to the custom ones, I'm just going to show you the safe mode and the ghost mode. In the safe mode, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different paths that are changed. And in the ghost mode, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that are changed. And they're changed to slightly different things, as you can see here. If you do end up turning these on, remember this new location. To log into your site, you will now have to go to ghost-login or ghost-admin. Or if you use safe mode, you'll have to go to /new login, all one word. That's not going to be publicly visible. So if you don't remember the URL of the login page, you're not going to get back into your site. So make sure that if you change the URL, that you write it down. I'm going to choose ghost mode. I'm going to click on continue. You can choose here a CMS to simulate. What this means is instead of your site appearing as a WordPress site to scanners and hacker tools, it can show as either no CMS, Drupal 7, 8, or 9, Joomla 1.5, or Joomla 3. It auto-selected Drupal 9. I'll just stick with that one. And then we click on Save. Here's also some important resources. For more information on any of these topics, click on these and have a read through. Once we click on Save, those URLs will be changed. Now the URLs are changed, and now we test it to make sure it actually worked. Here's the steps we have to do. Run the front-end login test by clicking that button. Make sure you follow the server config instructions before moving forward, okay? If you're able to log in, you've set the new paths correctly. Great. Do not log out of this browser, the big one right here. Do not log out of that until you're confident the login page is working so you can log in again. That's very important. If you can't configure hide my WP ghost, switch to deactivate mode and contact us. So let's try this and fingers crossed that it worked. Let's click on front end login test. I don't know what my password is. Let's do that. There we go. Log in. Cross your fingers. It logged in, so it appears to have worked. Oh, look, our website security is strong now. Well, that was easy. Let's close that because it appears to have worked. And we didn't have any server config instructions, so I think we'll just say yes, it's working. Also in red here, it notifies you your new URL to log in is this. So remember what that is. And what's hilarious is in case you can't log in, or in case you don't remember that one, remember this one instead. And this one seems a lot harder than that one. Anyway, make note of those two URLs, put them into some kind of file on your hard drive to make sure you have them. Click on yes, it's working. At least I'm going to in this case. And there we have it. Let's go back to our previous tab. Let's start the scan again and see what's changed. We now have 33 passed and 6 failed, and we're at strong. No longer at weak. Let's scroll down. We still have our plugins to update and theme. wp-config is writable, custom paths. So let's fix these other things. Let's update our plugins and themes. I'm going to open that in a new tab as well. I'm kind of a tab junkie. Way too many tabs open. Select all of these and update. If you're on a live site, make sure you back up your site first before you willy-nilly update a whole bunch of plugins, just because you never know. It's rare something happens, but you never know. Click on apply to update when you're ready. I'll just pause this video as these updates run. Sometimes they take a few minutes, especially WooCommerce tends to be a monster, and it's not. So there we go. Elementor Pro did not update to the latest version. Could that be because we changed some of the paths? I don't know. Let's refresh. It's no longer wanting to be updated. Not sure. Keep an eye on that. Let's update our themes. I've got a bunch of themes on here I don't need. I can delete those. Update Astra. This usually takes a few seconds. There we go. Let's close this tab. Let's come back here. Let's scan it again. Only a 4 failed. We're getting close. We're getting close to knocking all these off our checklist. wp-config. We want to chmod this to be 600 or 640. So let's log into our hosting account. You can also do it via FTP if you're more comfortable there. Here we are in SiteGround for this site. Let's click on site over here and then file manager, public_HTML, find our wp-config, which is right here. We see it's set to 644. So there's a column header here. That's the permissions column, also called chmod for some reason. chmod, I'm not sure what that's short for. Anyway, 644 is one of the most lenient permissions out there, not very restrictive. That's why it wants us to change it. So if you right click on that, click on change permissions, we want to have it down here be 0600 or 0640. Let's see if we can just type those in here. 600. Yeah, if we type it in, it unchecks the ones that need to be unchecked. And 640 does this. So sometimes when you change the permissions here, your site's going to go down. So you want to change it to 600. That's the most restrictive. The least amount of check marks you have here is the most restrictive permission. So let's confirm that and let's see if that worked. As in, does the site still work? Let's just open this in a new tab, see if it loads. That still loads. Let's go to the front end of the website. It appears to still load. Let's check incognito because maybe I'm looking at a cached version. These aren't active buttons anyway, so that's why that didn't work. So that appears to work. So we can keep it at 600. If that didn't work for you, change this to 640. And if that doesn't work, keep it at 644. And just ignore the plugins complaining about this. In fact, maybe you can just click this X to get rid of it. Do you want to ignore this task in the future? Yeah, okay, so you can click the X to ignore it in the future. If for some reason you can't change it away from 644, the site breaks if you do, but you don't want to see this error all the time, just click on the X and remove it from our task list. Let's change the path to the README file. Let's click on Fix It, and it did it automatically for us. It said to start the scan again to see that that's fixed. Now we've failed 3 things. Elementor Pro is still outdated. Let's look at that in a minute. The README file is accessible, has been fixed. And now it wants us to disable the plugin or theme editor. This is another one where I have a separate tutorial on the channel to do this, where you add this piece of code into a wp-config file, or you can just click on Fix It and the plugin will do it for you. So if you trust the plugin to do it, click on Fix It. If you don't, then do it manually using my video. It's in the card up above and the description down below. But if you've backed up your site, I think it's safe to click fix it and then restore if something goes wrong. So I'm going to fix it. I'm going to run the test again as I'm being told. Now we have 2 failed. Elementor Pro, update failed, and plugins theme editor disabled. And what this has done is it's removed the edit button under plugins and appearance. Of course, they're gone now, so we can't see what they actually are. But if we go to a website that has not had those removed, if you go to appearance, hover over it, you have a theme editor button here. And under plugins, there's a plugin editor. You can click on these and you're going to get a warning saying stuff in here can't be undone, so don't mess around in here. Click on I understand, and we can edit any plugin. The code, the template files of the plugins. Choose the plugin you want from the drop-down. You can edit any one. You can edit all of your themes. That means if somebody gets into your site with an admin password, they can come in here and edit all those things too. They could just copy and paste their nefarious code, boom, right there, bam, and it's in your site and you're done. So that's what that option does. It removes that editor, makes it harder for a hacker or hacker bot to get anywhere in your website. And this one right here, MySQL grant all permissions. This one's tricky because some of the latest versions of php-myadmin don't have what it's requesting. So if we scroll down here, we see here an edit privileges button, which is not present in the latest versions of php-myadmin. So if your host is using a latest version, which SiteGround is, this will not be there. A workaround is you can create a new user for your website, give them this set of privileges right here, and add them to your database, and then update your wp-config file. Because changing the privileges for an existing user is only going to work on older versions of php-myadmin, not on the newest ones. So we're going to ignore this check right here. I'm going to click on X, click on OK, and now we are going to check out Elementor Pro and see what's going on with that. Let's go back over here. Elementor Pro is not showing needs an update here. There we go. Click on update now and see what happens. Not updated. For some reason, it didn't work the first time. I don't know why. So now if we head back to our plugin, let's scan again. And now we should be sitting pretty. We have 1 failed, Elementor Pro. Let's start scan. And that should be gone now. 38 passed, 0 failed. We've done all the security tasks. And if you do all these things, you are ahead of 99.99999% of websites out there. And that's just one component of HideMyWP. Let's take a quick look at what else we have going on. Let's go to change paths. We saw part of this earlier already where we chose ghost mode. And remember I was complaining that when you choose ghost mode, these are predefined so hackers could buy this plugin and see what we're changing the paths to and then just input that into their bot or just commit that to memory or whatever. But then they know where these paths are. Well, it turns out there's more tabs over here. Click on any one of these tabs and we can change paths to these specific areas. So if we don't like a ghost-admin, change this to whatever you want. It'll be custom to you. You can change it to complete gibberish. Let's take out this colon. Put a dash in there. Just make sure that you remember what you put in here. Take screenshots or make note of whatever these URLs are just in case you need them. And down here it says some themes don't work with custom admin and ajax paths. If there are errors, switch back wp-admin and admin-ajax.php. You can also choose to hide wp-admin or not, hide wp-admin from not admin users or not, hide the new admin path or not. You can turn all those on or off, however you want. Your login URL paths you can set here. Ajax security you can set here. If you don't know what these are, don't worry about it. Just take screenshots of your settings and change them to whatever you want. As long as you only use numbers, letters, underscores, and dashes, it should work. If I put an exclamation in here, yeah, it doesn't show an error, but you can't have these characters in a URL. So you want to stick the numbers, letters, underscores, and dashes. User security, WP core, security. I want to disable directory browsing. Plugin security. I want to hide all plugins. You can also show advanced options and customize plugin names if you want. So we can change the name of the plugin for Elementor to Donkey Wrestling. And then contact form 7. As you recall, I'm picking these ones because they showed up in the theme scanner here. Contact form 7 and Elementor. Now they're called Donkey Wrestling and Elephant High Jump. And you can customize all of them if you want. Just pick the plugin, give it a new name, click on Save. Let's try to make a mental note. Remember these to see if those show up in our source code or in the plugin scanner later, because that'd be pretty funny. Theme security. Here we can change paths, hide certain things. You can show advanced options, customize theme names, just like we customize the plugin names. API security. These are all turned on except for the REST API access. Here it says update the settings on settings-permalinks to refresh the paths after changing the REST API path. I'm going to turn this on. Then I'm going to do what it says. I'm going to go to settings, permalinks, and these settings are the way we want them. So I'm just going to click on save changes and then save changes again, just for good measure, to reapply those settings as it asked us to. Then we go to firewall and headers. Here we can add security headers for cross-site scripting and code injection attacks. XSS is cross-site scripting. And down at the very bottom, they should probably put this at the top. At the very bottom, it says changing security headers may affect website functionality. Make sure you know what you're doing when changing these headers. In other words, just leave those as they are. Just come in here and look at it and say, oh, that's pretty. I'm going to turn this on or off, but don't change anything unless you know what you're doing. There's other options as well. We can change, or we can have a custom category path, custom tags path. This is when you go to view a category. This is actually a big pain point for a lot of website builders, creators. If you view this category, it says up here, category, music, in the URL. We can change that path. There's separate plugins that do that, but we can just change it right here if we want to. Let's change it to cat and ta for tags. Need a unique path with more than 4 characters. Let's make it tagger. Now if we refresh the music category, that page doesn't exist. Let's go to cat/music, and there we have it. We have our new category path. You want to be careful doing this on your live website because categories can be indexed in search engines. And so if you just change this willy-nilly and you don't redirect all your old category and tag URLs to the new ones, that can mean loss of traffic. So make sure that if you change these, you 301 redirect from the old path to the new path. There's a 301 redirect tutorial in the card up above and the description down below if you need help with that. And changing these is really just for vanity. You don't have to change category and tag paths, but it's fun to be able to. But some people do want to. There's plugins created specifically for that. On the tweaks tab, we have redirects. So here we can protect the paths wp-admin, wp-login, and have people who try to access those redirected to somewhere else. It could be a page that we choose here, or it can be an HTML error that you can choose here from the pre-supplied errors. You can create a new page. Just go to pages, add new, create a specific page, and say something like, you jerk, you're not supposed to be on this page. Save it. Now you can choose it from here, and then those hidden paths will be redirected to that page, and you'll call them out because they're not supposed to be there. You can have login redirects and log out redirects. This is not really a security thing, but it's nice to have for people who log in. You can choose specific user roles, have different login redirects and log out redirects for each of them if you have that turned on. I'm going to keep that turned off. Feed and sitemap. The feed is the RSS feed. If you don't use the RSS feed for anything and you know your users don't use it, you can turn this off. How do you know your users don't use it? It's almost impossible. There's tools like Feedly where you go and you enter your URL and then it'll just pull up your feed and all your most recent posts. And that allows people to have one platform where they can pull in all the posts from all their favorite websites and they'll just show up there. But you don't get any feedback on that. Unless you go to Feedly and specifically look up your site to see how many people use it, you don't know anybody's using it. And there's also more tools other than Feedly who do that. And so hiding this may reduce viewership and it may not. So choose this wisely. And the sitemap is not something you necessarily want to hide because search engines use sitemaps. So if you do end up hiding this, you're going to want to create Webmaster Tools or Google Search Console for every search engine and give them your specific sitemap URL. They'll try to find it using common ones like this URL right here. But if you hide it or change it, you want to make sure you notify them of what the real one is. You can change the path to your RSS feed, change the path to the sitemap, change the path to the robots.txt file. If you don't know what that file is, I made a tutorial about it very recently in the card up above and the description down below. It's important for SEO and various other things. I'm going to keep all these turned off. These aren't really security things. These are kind of more website preference type things. There's no security vulnerability in your RSS feed. It's just a static feed of what's on your site, the text and sometimes images. So this area here is not too big of a deal. Change options, make sure that the paths are changed for everybody. And you also can change relative URLs to absolute URLs. You can see an example of both of those here. Hide options, you can hide the admin toolbar, which is this black bar up at the top. If you turn that on, you can hide various other things. I know you can read through these guys and hide the ones you want or don't want. There's also disable options, disable right click, disable inspect element, disable view source, disable copy paste, disable drag drop images, disable debug on the front end. If you want to disable any of those things, just turn them on. Then click on save when you're done. So this wasn't really a security tab, this tweaks thing. It was more of a tweaks tab, where it's more of a preference type of thing for a lot of those options. Let's go to mapping. Here we can hide our WordPress footprint. Important note, your plugins and themes may use these classes and it will affect the design and functionality. Classes and IDs are used in CSS in determining styling of your website. So if we have, for example, wp-caption is a class or an ID, I'm not sure which, that WordPress adds to your site, and the theme might use that to style the caption. So if you wanted to test whether this has any impact on your site, you put the WordPress ID or class here, add in your new one, and then you go and you add a picture to a WordPress page, add a caption to the picture, and then see if the design changes when you turn this on or not. And each of these you can test in the same way. Down here is a list of the most common ones. Just click on it. It'll add it in here. You can give it a new name. And this allows you to remove the WP-, which is a footprint for WordPress. Anybody who looks at a source code and sees WP-, they know that it's WordPress. And so you can hide all those things in here. Here you can change the URL mapping. And it's important to include only internal URLs from front-end source code after you activate safe mode or ghost mode, which we have activated. So you can only do internal URLs, which means not links to other pages or posts on your site, but pages to the resources that your site loads. For example, from this one to this one. So you can customize very specifically how you want URLs to display in the source code. I recommend you add these one by one. You go into your source code. We haven't refreshed yet, but this will be changed because all the settings we've done so far. But if there are still URLs that you don't want to display the way they do, you come in here, you would copy them. Let's just copy this one. You paste it in there, and you change it to whatever you want, blah. Now the new URL will be that. And you want to do these one by one. You want to first identify what that does, that specific thing, and then change it and see if that specific thing breaks on the front end. If it doesn't break, you can keep it in here. So like I said, do those one by one. You can add a CDN URL here if you have a CDN. And under experimental, you can optimize CSS and JS files. You can have text mapping for CSS and JS files, including their caches. Those are experimental. So if you turn those on, they have not been thoroughly tested, so they might cause things to break on your site. On the brute force tab, we can activate brute force protection, use brute force protection, add WooCommerce login protection. We can have a math reCAPTCHA, Google reCAPTCHA version 2, Google reCAPTCHA version 3, and we can set all the settings down here. You need to have an API key for both the Google ones. And this will limit how many times people can try logging into your site and failing. So the math one, for an example here, 5 attempts are allowed. Once you've tried 5 times, you're banned for this number of seconds. And Google reCAPTCHA will be pretty much the same. Number of failed attempts, ban duration. And then if someone's banned, they'll have their IPs listed here as banned. And you can also add them manually if you wanted to. The events log shows us recent events on the site. We can activate the log for user events. Let's log user events, user roles. You can pick any one of these you want to log. to make sure they're not doing anything bad on your site. You log their activities, basically. So we could choose the editors. Let's assume the administrators are good actors. They know what they're doing. Then we have a reports log here. We can see their actions and details about the actions on the site. Security check. We've seen this multiple times already. Backup restore allows you to back up your site and restore your site, which is pretty handy. Under advanced, we have a custom safe URL parameter, which works out to this URL here. So if you find you can't log into your site for whatever reason, this is the place you go. This is the safe URL. So you want to copy this into somewhere safe on your hard drive or write it down, because when you can't log in, you can always log in using this URL here. Compatibility. These options allow you to work on compatibility issues and email notifications. You will be sent emails when something happens on your site. And that's really all the settings there are. And it's taken a long time to get here. Let's go back into our dashboard here. Let's go to connected sites. We should see our site here. There it is. There it's connected. The security monitor. Email notifications turned on. View report. Let's see if there's something on here. There's no report. Run new test. Let's see what that does. It does nothing at the moment. Events log shows that WordPress old paths are visible in the source code. That's not great. Let's go check out the source code while we're talking about that. There's our source code here. Let's go to our home page. Let's view the page source. Let's look for name equals generator. So if you recall, let's go to the old version. Name equals generator, we have WordPress 5.8.1 and WooCommerce 5.6.0. That's before using Hide My WP Ghost. With the new plugin, you recall we set Drupal 9 as the content management system we wanted to display as, which we currently do. Name generator is Drupal 9. And that's it. That's the only name generator on the site. A lot of these URLs here have wp-content in them because that's where plugins exist. Let's see if that's changed over here. Let's just look up wp-content because I don't see it anywhere. Nope, zero results for wp/content. So that's good. And here we have a brand new plugin called Donkey Wrestling. Hottest plugin to hit WordPress in a long time. Here's another one, Elephant High Jump. Also instant classic, that plugin. Now what I've noticed is on the left here, it shows Elementor-icons-CSS. This is not great because everybody knows that Elementor is a WordPress plugin. So clearly we're using WordPress, not Drupal. Now if I copy this, I want to see really quick if I can go back into mapping, put that in here because it's a class. Let's call this streetcar and save. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to Control F. If this does what I want it to, this will now be changed to streetcar. So let's refresh our source code. And it's changed to streetcar. If I Control F and search for it, it's gone. So that way we can hide all references to WordPress. But like I said, when I was showing you this page on the mapping here, you want to do this one by one, because if it changes the display of your website, then you might want to reconsider changing that specific CSS class or ID. Let's go over here. Let's run this again. Let's just open a new tab with that so we can compare the results. Not that there were many results to begin with. And it still shows us using Astra. Shows us with no plugins. Plugins are all hidden. Why is Astra still showing? Let's go to the source code. Let's go to /themes. So there's 21 21 references to Astra, various classes and IDs. But the theme folder's gone. So these IDs and classes will have to be changed manually the way we did right here to make Astra completely hidden. Might only have to make it hidden for the style sheet references. Let's just see if we change this one. Change it to gone. Click on save. Now we'll see this ID right here changed to gone. And now let's see if that's gone over here. Nope, still detects Astra. But that's likely what it is. It's one of these IDs and classes that it's using to determine Astra is being used. And whenever you make changes, like I just changed this ID to gone, you have to come out here and refresh your site and poke around and make sure everything still works. Because doing stuff like that breaks your site. Just changing IDs and classes and URL paths, you can quickly take your site offline very quickly. So you want to make sure you make these changes one at a time and take a look. And I know it's a pain doing it one at a time, but you'll be much happier if it's actually working and your site's still live than you will be if your site crashes. So if you want to get the lifetime deal for Hide My WP Ghost, go to AppSumo. $59 will have you covered for 10 websites, which is pretty awesome. But if you want more, go for more, obviously, whatever you think you need for your business. And to get here, please consider using the link in the description. It is an affiliate link, so I will get a small commission from AppSumo if you do decide to purchase, and that helps me keep making these videos. And if the AppSumo deal is gone, you can go directly to Hide My WP Ghost through the link in the description as well. It's also an affiliate link, and then you can buy it through here if the AppSumo deal is gone by the time you watch this. Next up, check out this playlist right here, which is all about WordPress security. So if you want to secure your website even more, beyond just using Hide My WP Ghost, check out that playlist. And if you haven't done so yet, click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. My name is Bjorn Allpass from WP Learning Lab. Till next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.